the vision of the ancient world is thick with the smoke of altars and the dust of marching armies. This is the story of a city called to be a light, but choosing instead to dwell in the deep shadows of its own making. It begins not with a king on a golden throne, but with a cry from the heavens that echoes through the stony valleys of Judah. The sky and the earth are called as witnesses to a trial that has no equal. For the Creator speaks against the children he has reared and brought up with care. This account follows the path of a nation that has forgotten its origin, trading the clarity of the morning for the confusion of the night. It is a history of a deep sickness that has spread from the sole of the foot to the crown of the head, leaving a once-proud people covered in wounds that no earthly ointment can heal. Story opens with a stinging comparison drawn from the humble stalls of the common farmer. In the natural world, even the most stubborn beast of burden recognizes the hand that feeds it. The sturdy ox knows its owner, and the small donkey finds its way back to the manger of its master. Yet, the people who were carried through the wilderness have lost the very instinct of the creature. They have forgotten the source of their life, turning backward and moving toward a desolation they have invited upon themselves. The city that was meant to be a fortress of peace has become like a fragile lodge in a garden of cucumbers, a temporary shelter left alone in a besieged field. While the people believe they are safe within their walls, the vision reveals that the land is being devoured by strangers, and the cities are being burned with fire, leaving only a small remnant to tell the tale. In the midst of this decay, the smoke of the temple continues to rise, but it is a fragrance that has turned sour. A piercing question is asked about the purpose of the multitude of sacrifices being offered on the altars. The Creator declares that he is full of the burnt offerings of rams and the fat of fed beasts. The people bring their bullocks and their lambs, believing that an external gift can cover the internal rot of their character. They tread the stone courts of the temple with heavy feet, but their hearts are elsewhere. The lore warns that the new moons, the Sabbaths, and the calling of assemblies have become a weariness to the light. When the people spread forth their hands in prayer, the eyes of the glory are hidden from them, for those hands are full of the evidence of injustice. The sacred flame cannot burn on an altar where the fuel is the suffering of the orphan and the neglect of the widow. The tone of the history shifts from a dark judgment to a startling invitation. A voice rises above the noise of the useless sacrifices, calling for the people to wash themselves and make their spirits clean. They are told to put away the evil of their doings and to cease the habits of the dark. They must learn to do well, seeking judgment and relieving the oppressed. This is the lesson of the active cleansing, where the stain of the past is removed not by the blood of animals, but by the change of the heart. Then comes the central promise of the vision. Though the sins of the people are as scarlet, they shall be as white as snow. Though they be red like crimson, they shall be as pure wool. This is an invitation to reason together, a logical exchange where the crimson of a failed history is transformed into the white of a new beginning for those who are willing and obedient. observer looks at the city of Jerusalem and sees a faithful city that has become a stranger to its own nature. It was once full of judgment and righteousness, but now it is full of those who seek their own gain at the expense of others. The silver of the nation has become dross, and the wine of its joy has been mixed with water until it has no strength left. The leaders have become companions of thieves, loving gifts and following after rewards instead of judging the cause of the fatherless. Because the foundation has been corrupted, a period of refining is announced. The Creator will turn his hand upon the city to purely purge away the dross and take away all the tin. This purge is a painful process of fire, but its goal is the restoration of the judges as they were at the first, and the counselors as they were in the beginning. Only through this burning can the city be called once again the city of righteousness. The people are warned about the vanity of trusting in the things they have fashioned with their own fingers. They have desired the oaks and the gardens, the places where they practiced the hollow rituals of their own making. Because of this, the vision declares, they shall be as an oak whose leaf fades, and as a garden that has no water to sustain it. The strong men of the city will be like flammable fibers of flax, and the work they have done will be the spark that sets them ablaze. They shall burn together, and none shall be able to quench the fire of their own consequences. This is the realization that the security built on pride is no security at all. The history of the vision begins with this stark choice between the scarlet and the white, as the people stand in the smoke of a world that is passing away, waiting for the appearance of a mountain that rises above the clouds. The vision of the city moves from the internal rot to the external pride that has blinded the inhabitants. They have filled their land with treasures of silver and gold, and their stables are overflowing with horses and chariots that never end. Yet, in their pursuit of abundance, they have bowed down to the works of their own hands, worshiping the things they have made. This has brought a heaviness upon the land that no amount of wealth can lift. Pride of man is marked for a day of reckoning, where every high tower and every fenced wall will be brought low. The loftiness of the human spirit will be bowed down, so that only the light is exalted. The people are shown running to the holes of the rocks and the caves of the earth to hide from the glory of the majesty that is revealed. They will cast away their idols of silver to the moles and the bats in the darkness, realizing too late that the breath of man is merely in his nostrils, and his strength is of no account. The story concludes with a final view of the city as the stay and the staff are taken away. The bread that sustains the body and the water that quenches the thirst are removed, leaving a hunger that goes deeper than the physical. The mighty men, the judges, and the prophets are taken from their places of leadership, and in their stead, children and babes are allowed to rule. The social order collapses as people oppress one another, and the ruins of the city become a testimony to the tongues and the doings that were against the light. The look on the faces of the people testifies against them, for they declare their failures openly and hide nothing. In this state of desolation, The city sits upon the ground in the dust, waiting for the branch of the future to grow out of the earth. The first movement of the vision ends here, with the sound of a distant nation being summoned to execute the judgment of the fire, while the promise of a cloud by day and a flaming fire by night remains the only hope for those who survive the shaking. The story moves from the crumbling walls of the city to a moment of profound transformation that occurred in the year King Uzziah died. The visionary finds himself no longer in the dusty courts of men, but in a space where the boundaries between the earth and the sky have vanished. He beholds the Creator sitting upon a throne, high and lifted up, while the train of his royal robe fills the entire temple. This is the account of the high encounter, where the physical world is eclipsed by a majesty so great that even the celestial beings, the six-winged seraphim, must cover their faces and their feet in its presence. One calls out to another in a voice that shakes the very doorposts of the house, declaring the threefold holiness of the light and revealing that the entire earth is full of his glory. As the house fills with smoke, the visionary is struck by his own undone state, realizing that he is a man of unclean lips dwelling in the midst of a people of unclean lips. For his eyes have seen the King. This moment of overwhelming unworthiness, a seraphim flies toward the visionary, carrying a live coal that had been taken with tongs from the altar. The burning coal is laid upon his mouth, and he is told that his iniquity is taken away, and his sin is purged. This is the lesson of the painful purification, where the fire of the altar does not destroy, but prepares the voice for a sacred task. Immediately after this cleansing, a question echoes through the smoke. Whom shall I send, and who will go for us? The visionary, no longer silent or afraid, responds with the words that will define his life. Here am I, send me. He is given a difficult mission to speak to people who will hear but not understand, and see but not perceive. Their hearts have grown heavy and their ears dull, and they have closed their eyes lest they should be converted and healed. When asked how long this state will last, the answer is given that it will continue until the cities are wasted without inhabitant and the land is utterly desolate. Yet a promise remains that even if a 10th part of the people remains, they shall be like a tall tree or an oak, whose substance is in them even when they cast their leaves. The holy seed shall be the substance thereof, a hidden life that persists through the winter of the nation. The history then turns to a time of great political terror, when the king of the northern land and the king of the eastern mountains joined forces to march against Jerusalem. The heart of King Ahaz and the hearts of his people were moved, as the trees of the wood are moved with the wind. The visionary is sent to meet the king at the end of the conduit of the upper pool, carrying a message of quietness and confidence. He is told not to fear these two smoking firebrands, for their plan to set up a puppet king in Jerusalem shall not stand. The king is invited to ask for a sign from the depths or the heights to confirm this promise, but in his false humility, he refuses to tempt the light. In response, a sign is given that transcends the immediate crisis. A virgin shall conceive and bear a son, and shall call his name Emmanuel, which means God with us. Before this child is old enough to know the difference between evil and good, the lands of the two kings that caused such fear will be forsaken. This is the story of the child of the transition, a sign that the Creator remains present even when the rulers of the earth are in a state of panic. However, because the people have refused the waters of Shiloh that go softly, and have instead rejoiced in the strength of foreign alliances, a flood is announced. The king of Assyria is described as the great river, strong and many, who will pass through the land of Judah and overflow it, reaching even to the neck. The stretching out of his wings shall fill the breadth of the land. The people are warned that even if they associate themselves and gird themselves for war, they shall be broken in pieces. They are commanded not to call a confederacy what the world calls a confederacy, nor to fear their fear. Instead, they are to sanctify the light of the Spirit and let him be their fear and their dread. To those who trust, he will be a sanctuary, but to both houses of the nation, he will be a stone of stumbling and a rock of offense. Many shall stumble and fall and be broken and snared and taken. The visionary is instructed to bind up the testimony and seal the law among his disciples, waiting for the light that currently hides its face from the house of Jacob. The darkness deepens as the people turn toward those who have familiar spirits and toward wizards that peep and mutter, seeking the living among the dead. The lore asks why a people should not seek unto their own Creator instead of the shadows, to the law and to the testimony. If they speak not according to this word, it is because there is no light in them. Those who follow the darkness will pass through the land hardly bestead and hungry, and in their hunger they will fret themselves and curse their king and their Creator. They shall look unto the earth and behold only trouble and darkness, driven into the dimness of anguish. But this dimness shall not be such as was in her vexation, when at first he lightly afflicted the lands of Zebulun and Naphtali. The people that walked in darkness have seen a great light. They that dwell in the land of the shadow of death, upon them has the light shined. The joy of the nation is increased as in the time of the harvest, for the yoke of their burden and the staff of their shoulder have been broken as in the day of Midian. The source of this joy is revealed to be the birth of a royal child, whose government shall be upon his shoulder. His name shall be called Wonderful, Counselor, the Mighty God, the Everlasting Father, the Prince of Peace. Of the increase of his government and peace there shall be no end, as he sits upon the throne of David to order it and establish it with judgment, and with justice from henceforth, even forever. The zeal of the Creator of hosts will perform this, showing that the ultimate hope of the city does not lie in the strength of its armies, but in the arrival of a ruler who embodies the virtues of the light. This child is the great light that pierces through the gloom of the Assyrian invasion and the internal rot of the leadership. He is the fulfillment of the sign of Emmanuel, a permanent presence that turns the shadow of death into the morning of the Spirit. Despite this bright promise, the immediate reality remains one of correction. A word is sent into the house of Jacob, and it is lighted upon the people. They have said in the pride and stoutness of their hearts that though the bricks are fallen down, they will build with hewn stones. Though the sycamores are cut down, they will change them into cedars. Because they refuse to acknowledge the shaking, the adversaries are stirred up against them. The people turn not unto him that smites them, nor do they seek the light. Therefore the head and the tail, the branch and the rush are cut off in one day. The ancient and honorable is the head, and the prophet that teaches lies is the tail. The leaders of this people cause them to err, and they that are led of them are destroyed. Through the wrath of the Creator, the land is darkened, and the people shall be as the fuel of the fire. No man shall spare his brother. They shall eat every man the flesh of his own arm. This is the lore of the internal fire, where a nation that consumes itself through injustice and pride finds that its own strength has become its destruction. The movement concludes with a woe unto them that decree unrighteous decrees, and that right grievousness which they have prescribed. They turn aside the needy from judgment, and take away the right from the poor, that widows may be their prey, and that they may rob the fatherless. The question is asked, what will you do in the day of visitation, and in the desolation which shall come from far? To whom will you flee for help? And where will you leave your glory? Without the protection of the light, they shall bow down under the prisoners and fall under the slain. For all this, the anger of the vision is not turned away, but his hand is stretched out still. The people stand in a world where the child of peace has been promised, but the fire of the Assyrian rod is already at the door. The history of the vision remains in the tension between the great light and the dimness of anguish, waiting for the branch of the future to finally blossom in the wasteland. The history shifts to the northern horizon, where the sound of a great axe is heard striking against the ancient forests. This is the account of the Assyrian, described as the rod of anger in the hand of the Creator, sent to correct a hypocritical nation. However, the heart of the Assyrian king does not mean to simply correct. It is in his heart to destroy and cut off nations, not a few. He boasts in his pride, asking if his princes are not altogether kings, and if the cities he has conquered are not all the same before his power. He believes that by the strength of his own hand and by his own wisdom, he has removed the boundaries of the people and robbed their treasures, gathering the riches of the earth as one gathers eggs from a deserted nest, with no wing moving or beak opening to peep. The vision rebukes this pride with a piercing question. Shall the axe boast itself against him that hews therewith? Or shall the saw magnify itself against him that shakes it? It is as if a rod should shake itself against the one who lifts it up, or a staff should lift up itself as if it were not wood. Because of this arrogance, the light will send among the fat ones of the Assyrian a leanness, and under his glory he will kindle a burning like the burning of a fire. The light of Israel shall be for a fire, and his Holy One for a flame, consuming the thorns and briars of the invader in a single day. The glory of his forest and of his fruitful field will be consumed, both soul and body, until the remaining trees are so few that a child might write them down. This is the lore of the broken tool, where the instrument of judgment is itself judged for forgetting that its power was borrowed from the heights. A remnant is promised to return, even the remnant of Jacob, unto the mighty God. Though the people were as the sand of the sea, only a portion shall return, for the consumption decreed shall overflow with righteousness. The people who dwell in Zion are told not to be afraid of the Assyrian when he smites them with a rod and lifts up his staff against them after the manner of Egypt. For yet a very little while, and the indignation shall cease. The burden shall be taken away from off the shoulder, and the yoke from off the neck, and the yoke shall be destroyed because of the anointing. The vision describes the rapid approach of the enemy through the towns Michmash, Ramah, and Jibah, until he shakes his hand against the mount of the daughter of Zion. But at that very moment, the Creator will lop the bough with terror. The high ones of stature shall be hewn down, and the haughty shall be humbled. The thickets of the forest will be cut down with iron, and Lebanon shall fall by a mighty one. Out of the stump of this fallen forest, a new life begins to stir. There shall come forth a rod out of the stem of Jesse, and a branch shall grow out of his roots. This is the story of the root of Jesse, a ruler upon whom the spirit of the light shall rest, the spirit of wisdom and understanding, the spirit of counsel and might, the spirit of knowledge and of the fear of the Creator. He shall not judge after the sight of his eyes, nor reprove after the hearing of his ears. With righteousness shall he judge the poor, and reprove with equity for the meek of the earth. He shall smite the earth with the rod of his mouth, and with the breath of his lips shall he slay the wicked. Righteousness shall be the girdle of his loins, and faithfulness the girdle of his reins. This is the promise of the King of the new nature, whose authority is built on truth rather than the bronze and iron of the Assyrian. The reign of this branch brings a transformation to the very order of the world. The wolf shall dwell with the lamb, and the leopard shall lie down with the kid, the calf, and the young lion, and the fatling together, and a little child shall lead them. The cow and the bear shall feed, their young ones shall lie down together, and the lion shall eat straw like the ox. The sucking child shall play on the hole of the asp, and the weaned child shall put his hand on the cockatrice den. They shall not hurt nor destroy in all the holy mountain, for the earth shall be full of the knowledge of the Creator, as the waters cover the sea. This is the lore of the restored harmony, where the sore travail of the predator and the prey is finished, and the violence of the nature under the sun is healed by the presence of the branch. In that day there shall be a root of Jesse, which shall stand for an ensign of the people. To it shall the Gentiles seek, and his rest shall be glorious. The Creator will set his hand again the second time to recover the remnant of his people from Assyria, Egypt, Pathros, Cush, and the islands of the sea. He shall set up an ensign for the nations, and shall assemble the outcasts of Israel, gathering together the dispersed of Judah from the four corners of the earth. The envy of Ephraim shall depart, and the adversaries of Judah shall be cut off. They shall not vex one another any more. There shall be a highway for the remnant of his people, like as it was to Israel in the day that he came up out of the land of Egypt. The dry path through the sea and the river will be made again, proving that no distance is too great and no water too deep for the light to bring its children home. The movement concludes with a song of thanksgiving. Behold, God is my salvation. I will trust and not be afraid. For the Lord Jehovah is my strength and my song. He also is become my salvation. With joy shall the people draw water out of the wells of salvation. They are commanded to praise the Creator, call upon his name, and declare his doings among the people. They must make mention that his name is exalted and sing unto the light, for he has done excellent things. Cry out and shout, thou inhabitant of Zion, for great is the Holy One of Israel in the midst of thee. This is the transition from the fear of the Assyrian firebrand to the joy of the wells of salvation. The forest of pride has been leveled, but the branch of Jesse is rising to fill the world with a peace that the sword could never forge. The history turns its gaze away from the local hills of Judah toward the horizon, where the great city of Babylon rises like a golden mountain. This is the account of the burden of Babylon, a city of merchants and magicians that believes its walls are high enough to touch the stars. The vision begins with a banner being lifted upon a high mountain, a signal to the sanctified ones and the mighty ones to gather for the day of the light. A noise of a multitude is heard in the mountains, like as of a great people, a tumultuous noise of the kingdoms of nations gathered together. They come from a far country, from the end of heaven, to destroy the whole land. The people are told to howl, for the day is at hand, and it shall come as a destruction from the Almighty. Therefore, all hands shall be faint, and every man's heart shall melt, as pangs and sorrows take hold of them like a woman in travail. The pride of the world is marked for a specific darkness. The stars of heaven and the constellations thereof shall not give their light. The sun shall be darkened in his going forth, and the moon shall not cause her light to shine. This is the lore of the cosmic shaking, where the arrogance of the proud is stilled, and the haughtiness of the terrible is laid low. A man shall be made more precious than fine gold, even a man than the golden wedge of Ophir. The heavens shall shake, and the earth shall remove out of her place in the wrath of the Creator. Babylon, the glory of kingdoms and the beauty of the Chaldees' excellency, shall be as when God overthrew Sodom and Gomorrah. It shall never be inhabited, neither shall it be dwelt in from generation to generation. Neither shall the Arabian pitch tent there, neither shall the shepherds make their fold there. Instead, wild beasts of the desert shall lie there, and their houses shall be full of doleful creatures. And owls shall dwell there, and satyrs shall dance there. The vision then breaks into a taunting song against the king of Babylon, who is described as the day star or the son of the morning. The whole earth is at rest and is quiet, breaking forth into singing because the staff of the wicked and the scepter of the rulers is broken. Even the fir trees rejoice, and the cedars of Lebanon, saying that since the king is laid down, no feller is come up against them. Hell from beneath is moved to meet him at his coming, stirring up the dead for him, even all the chief ones of the earth. They shall speak and say, Art thou also become weak as we? Art thou become like unto us? Thy pomp is brought down to the grave, and the noise of thy vials. The worm is spread under thee, and the worms cover thee. This is the lore of the fallen Titan, where the one who shook kingdoms and made the world a wilderness is brought down to the sides of the pit. The heart of this fall was a secret ambition. For thou hast said in thine heart, I will ascend into heaven. I will exalt my throne above the stars of God. I will sit also upon the mount of the congregation, in the sides of the north. I will ascend above the heights of the clouds. I will be like the Most High. This is the lore of the false ascension, where the creature attempts to steal the seat of the Creator. But instead of the heights of the clouds, the king is brought down to hell. Those that see him shall narrowly look upon him and consider him, saying, Is this the man that made the earth to tremble, that did shake kingdoms, that made the world as a wilderness, and destroyed the cities thereof, that opened not the house of his prisoners? All the kings of the nations lie in glory, every one in his own house. But this king is cast out of his grave like an abominable branch, as a carcass trodden under feet. The burden continues to spread like a shadow over the neighboring lands. Palestine is told not to rejoice, because the rod of him that smote her is broken. For out of the serpent's root shall come forth a cockatrice, and his fruit shall be a fiery, flying serpent. While the firstborn of the poor shall feed, and the needy shall lie down in safety, the root of the proud shall be killed with famine. A smoke comes from the north, and none shall be alone in his appointed times. What shall one then answer the messengers of the nation? That the light has founded Zion, and the poor of his people shall trust in it. This is the contrast between the sinking city of Babylon and the founded city of Zion. One is built on the ambition to ascend, while the other is built on the grace that descends to the poor. The history moves to the burden of Moab, a land that is laid waste in a single night. Ar of Moab is brought to silence, and Kir of Moab is laid waste. The people go up to the high places and to the altars to weep. Over their cities there is howling, and every head is bald, and every beard is cut off in mourning. In their streets they shall gird themselves with sackcloth on the tops of their houses, and in their streets every one shall howl, weeping abundantly. Their heart shall cry out for the fugitives who flee unto Zor. The waters of Nimrim shall be desolate, for the hay is withered away, the grass fails, and there is no green thing. The abundance they have gotten, and that which they have laid up shall be carried away to the brook of the willows. Moab is ashamed of its pride, for its haughtiness and its wrath were greater than its strength. The vision calls for the outcasts of Moab to find shelter within the borders of the light. Let mine outcasts dwell with thee, Moab. Be thou a covert to them from the face of the spoiler. The throne is established in mercy, and one shall sit upon it in truth, in the tabernacle of David, judging and seeking judgment and hasting righteousness. But because Moab was very proud, and its lies were many. The land shall howl for itself. The foundations of the city shall be stricken, and the vine of Sibmah shall languish, whose branches were stretched out and reached even to the sea. The Creator declares that his heart shall sound like a harp for Moab, mourning for the beautiful fields that have been turned into a wilderness. When it is seen that Moab is weary on the high place and comes to his sanctuary to pray, he shall not prevail. The movement concludes with the burden of Damascus, the city of the north. It is taken away from being a city, and it shall be a ruinous heap. The cities of Aroer are forsaken, they shall be for flocks, which shall lie down, and none shall make them afraid. The fortress shall cease from Ephraim, and the kingdom from Damascus, and the remnant of Syria shall be as the glory of the children of Israel. In that day, the glory of Jacob shall be made thin, and the fatness of his flesh shall wax lean. It shall be as when the harvestman gathers the corn and reaps the ears with his arm. Yet gleaning grapes shall be left in it, 2 or 3 berries in the top of the uppermost bough, 4 or 5 in the outmost fruitful branches. In that day shall a man look to his Maker, and his eyes shall have respect to the Holy One of Israel. He shall not look to the altars, the work of his hands, nor respect that which his fingers have made, either the groves or the images. The history turns toward the southern horizons, where the great rivers of the world carve paths through ancient sands. This is the account of the land shadowing with wings, which is beyond the rivers of Ethiopia. It is a nation that sends messengers by the sea in vessels of bulrushes upon the waters, moving with a speed that matches the flow of the Nile. They are described as a people tall and smooth, a nation meted out and trodden down, whose land the rivers have spoiled. The vision calls to all the inhabitants of the world and dwellers on the earth to behold when a banner is lifted up on the mountains, and to hear when a trumpet is blown. The Creator declares that he will take his rest and consider in his dwelling place like a clear heat upon herbs, and like a cloud of dew in the heat of harvest. Before the harvest, when the bud is perfect and the sour grape is ripening in the flower, he shall both cut off the sprigs with pruning hooks and take away and cut down the branches. They shall be left together unto the fowls of the mountains and to the beasts of the earth. Yet in that time shall a present be brought unto the light of a people tall and smooth, moving from the ends of the earth to the place of the name of the Creator, even to Mount Zion. The vision then moves to the burden of Egypt, as the Creator is seen riding upon a swift cloud, coming into the land of the pyramids. The idols of Egypt shall be moved at his presence, and the heart of the Egyptian shall melt in the midst of it. A spirit of internal confusion is poured out upon the nation, setting Egyptian against Egyptian, neighbor against neighbor, and city against city. The spirit of the land shall fail, and they shall seek to the idols, the charmers, and those with familiar spirits. The people shall be given over into the hand of a cruel lord, and a fierce king shall rule over them. This is the lore of the drying river, for the waters shall fail from the sea, and the river shall be wasted and dried up. The brooks of defense shall be emptied, and the reeds and flags shall wither. The paper reeds by the brooks, and everything sown by the brooks shall wither, be driven away, and be no more. The fishers also shall mourn, and they that cast angle into the brooks shall lament. For the lifeblood of the nation, the great river Nile, has turned into a parched desert. The wisdom of the princes of Zoan is revealed to be nothing but foolishness. They are the wise counselors of Pharaoh, yet their counsel has become brutish. They boast of being the sons of the wise and the sons of ancient kings, but they cannot tell what the light has purposed upon Egypt. The princes are deceived, and the stay of the tribes has caused the nation to err. The Creator has mingled a perverse spirit in the midst thereof, causing Egypt to err in every work as a drunken man staggers in his vomit. Neither shall there be any work for Egypt which the head or tail, branch or rush may do. The land shall be afraid and fear because of the shaking of the hand of the Creator. In that day, 5 cities in the land of Egypt shall speak the language of the light and swear to the Creator of hosts. There shall be an altar to the light in the midst of the land of Egypt, and a pillar at the border thereof. It shall be for a sign and for a witness. For they shall cry unto the Creator because of the oppressors, and he shall send them a Savior and a great one, and he shall deliver them. The Lord speaks of a time of healing that follows the time of smiting. The light shall be known to Egypt, and the Egyptians shall know the Creator in that day, doing sacrifice and oblation. He shall smite Egypt, but he shall smite and heal it, and they shall return unto him. This transformation leads to the lore of the great highway, a path of peace that stretches from Egypt to Assyria. The Assyrian shall come into Egypt, and the Egyptian into Assyria, and the Egyptians shall serve with the Assyrians. In that day shall Israel be the third with Egypt and with Assyria, even a blessing in the midst of the land. The Creator of hosts shall bless them, saying, Blessed be Egypt my people, and Assyria the work of my hands, and Israel mine inheritance. This is the vision of the reconciled world, where the 3 great powers that once warred and oppressed one another are joined in a single family of peace, their old enmities forgotten in the presence of the light. The history takes a physical turn as the visionary is commanded to walk for 3 years stripped and barefoot as a sign and wonder upon Egypt and Ethiopia. This is a living parable of the shame that is coming upon the southern kingdoms. The king of Assyria shall lead away the Egyptians as prisoners, and the Ethiopians as captives, young and old, to the shame of the nation. Those who looked toward Ethiopia as their expectation, and toward Egypt as their glory, shall be afraid and ashamed. The inhabitants of the isle shall say in that day, Behold, such is our expectation. Whither we flee for help to be delivered from the king of Assyria? And how shall we escape? This is the lesson of the failed alliance, proving that the strength of the swift cloud and the speed of the bulrush vessels are nothing compared to the turning of the hand of the Creator. The people are forced to look away from the great river and the tall men, finding that their only true defense is the one who rides upon the cloud. The vision then shifts to the burden of the desert of the sea, as a whirlwind from the south passes through, coming from a terrible land. A grievous vision is declared, The treacherous dealer deals treacherously, and the spoiler spoils. Elam is commanded to go up, and Media is told to besiege. The visionary's loins are filled with pain, and pangs have taken hold of him as the pangs of a woman that travails. He is bowed down at the hearing of it, and dismayed at the seeing of it. His heart panted, and fearfulness affrighted him. The night of his pleasure has been turned into fear. The table is prepared, the watchman is set in the tower, and the people eat and drink until the command is given to arise, ye princes, and anoint the shield. The watchman sees a chariot with a couple of horsemen, a chariot of asses, and a chariot of camels, and he hearkened diligently with much heed. He cried like a lion, standing continually upon the watchtower in the daytime, and being set in his ward whole nights. The watchman finally cries out, Babylon is fallen, and all the graven images of her gods he has broken unto the ground. This is the lore of the thrashing floor, for the people are addressed as my thrashing, and the corn of my floor. That which has been heard from the Creator of hosts has been declared unto them. The burden of Duma follows, as a voice calls out of Seir, Watchman, what of the night? Watchman, what of the night? The watchman replies, The morning comes, and also the night. If you will inquire, inquire ye. Return, come. This is the story of the uncertain dawn, where the light and the shadow are still in a state of struggle. The burden of Arabia is spoken, where the traveling companies of Dedanim must lodge in the forest. The inhabitants of the land of Tema are commanded to bring water to him that is thirsty, and to prevent with their bread him that fled. For they fled from the swords, from the drawn sword, and from the bent bow, and from the grievousness of war. Within a year, according to the years of a hireling, all the glory of Kedar shall fail. The residue of the number of archers, the mighty men of the children of Kedar, shall be diminished, for the Creator has spoken it. The movement concludes with the burden of the Valley of Vision, where the city is full of stirs and a tumultuous joy. The people have gone up to the housetops to see the approach of the enemy, but their slain men are not slain with the sword, nor dead in battle. All the rulers have fled together and are bound by the archers. The visionary cries out, Look away from me, I will weep bitterly. Labor not to comfort me, because of the spoiling of the daughter of my people. It is a day of trouble and of treading down and of perplexity by the Creator of hosts in the Valley of Vision. The walls are broken down, and the crying reaches to the mountains. The armor of the house of the forest is inspected, and the breaches of the city of David are seen to be many. The people have gathered together the waters of the lower pool, and numbered the houses to fortify the wall. But they have not looked unto the Maker thereof, nor had respect unto him that fashioned it long ago. The call of the day was for weeping and mourning, for baldness and girding with sackcloth. But instead, there was joy and gladness, slaying oxen and killing sheep, eating flesh and drinking wine, saying, Let us eat and drink, for tomorrow we shall die. This is the lore of the desperate feast, where the people choose a hollow pleasure in the face of their own end. The treasurer of the city, Shebna, who carved himself a sepulchre in a high place, is told that he will be tossed like a ball into a large country, and there he shall die. He will be replaced by Eliakim, who shall be a father to the inhabitants of Jerusalem. He will be clothed with a robe and strengthened with a girdle, and the key of the house of David will be laid upon his shoulder. He shall open, and none shall shut, and he shall shut, and none shall open. He shall be fastened as a nail in a sure place, and he shall be for a glorious throne to his father's house. But even this nail shall be removed and be cut down, and the burden that was upon it shall be cut off, for the light has spoken it. The history turns its gaze toward the edge of the great waters, where the city of Tyre sits upon its island throne, crowned with the wealth of the world. This is the account of the burden of Tyre, the mart of nations, whose merchants were princes, and whose traffickers were the honorable of the earth. The ships of Tarshish are told to howl, for their harbor is laid waste, and their strength is brought to nothing. The news reaches the people from the land of Chittim, and the stillness of the coast is broken by a cry of desolation. Tyre, once the joyous city whose antiquity was of ancient days, finds that her own feet shall carry her afar off to sojourn. The Creator of hosts has purposed this to stain the pride of all glory and to bring into contempt all the honorable of the earth. The strength of the sea is taken away, and the daughter of Tarshish is told to pass through her land like a river, for there is no more strength to hold back the flood of change. The vision describes a time of silence for the merchant city, as it is forgotten for 70 years, according to the days of one king. After the end of these years, it shall be unto Tyre as the song of a harlot, as she takes a harp and goes about the city, making sweet melody and singing many songs that she may be remembered. The light will visit Tyre, and she shall turn to her hire, committing her old ways with all the kingdoms of the world upon the face of the earth. But a transformation is promised. Her merchandise and her hire shall be holiness to the light. It shall not be treasured nor laid up, for her merchandise shall be for them that dwell before the Creator, to eat sufficiently and for durable clothing. This is the lore of the redeemed wealth, where the profit of the merchant is no longer stored in vaults of pride, but is used to sustain the humble and clothe the seekers of the truth. The scope of the vision expands from a single city to the entire world, as the earth itself is seen being made empty and waste. The Creator turns it upside down and scatters abroad the inhabitants thereof. It shall be as with the people, so with the priest, as with the servant, so with his master, as with the buyer, so with the seller, as with the taker of usury, so with the giver of usury to him. The land shall be utterly emptied and utterly spoiled, for the earth mourns and fades away. The haughty people of the earth do languish, because the earth is defiled under the inhabitants thereof. They have transgressed the laws, changed the ordinance, and broken the everlasting covenant. Therefore, a curse has devoured the earth, and they that dwell therein are desolate. The new wine mourns, the vine languishes, and all the merry-hearted do sigh. The mirth of tabrets ceases, the noise of them that rejoice ends, and the joy of the harp is still. In the midst of this universal shaking, the city of confusion is broken down, and every house is shut up, that no man may come in. There is a crying for wine in the streets. All joy is darkened, and the mirth of the land is gone. In the city is left desolation, and the gate is smitten with destruction. Yet a remnant is seen in the midst of the land among the people, like the shaking of an olive tree, and as the gleaning grapes when the vintage is done. These shall lift up their voice, and shall sing for the majesty of the light, crying aloud from the sea. They are commanded to glorify the Creator in the fires, even the name of the Holy One of Israel in the isles of the sea. From the uttermost part of the earth have been heard songs, even glory to the righteous. But the visionary cries out in his leanness, for the treacherous dealers have dealt very treacherously, and the fear, the pit, and the snare are upon the inhabitant of the earth. Lore of the great collapse describes how he who flees from the noise of the fear shall fall into the pit, and he that comes up out of the midst of the pit shall be taken in the snare. The windows from on high are open, and the foundations of the earth do shake. The earth is utterly broken down, the earth is clean dissolved, and the earth is moved exceedingly. It shall reel to and fro like a drunkard, and shall be removed like a cottage. The transgression thereof shall be heavy upon it, and it shall fall and not rise again. In that day the light shall punish the host of the high ones that are on high, and the kings of the earth upon the earth. They shall be gathered together as prisoners are gathered in the pit, and shall be shut up in the prison. Then the moon shall be confounded, and the sun ashamed, when the Creator of hosts shall reign in Mount Zion and in Jerusalem, and before his ancients gloriously. The vision turns to a song of praise for the wonderful things that have been done according to counsels of old. The Creator has made of a city a heap, and of a defenced city a ruin, a palace of strangers to be no city, that it shall never be built. Therefore the strong people shall glorify the light, and the city of the terrible nations shall fear him. For he has been a strength to the poor, a strength to the needy in his distress, a refuge from the storm, and a shadow from the heat when the blast of the terrible ones is as a storm against the wall. He shall bring down the noise of strangers as the heat in a dry place, and the branch of the terrible ones shall be brought low. In this mountain shall the Creator of hosts make unto all people a feast of fat things, a feast of wines on the lees, of fat things full of marrow, of wines on the lees well refined. The most profound promise of the movement is the destruction of the veil that covers the world. He will destroy in this mountain the face of the covering cast over all people, and the veil that is spread over all nations. He will swallow up death in victory, and the Lord God will wipe away tears from off all faces, and the rebuke of his people shall he take away from off all the earth. This is the lore of the final comfort, where the reproach of the human condition is removed. It shall be said in that day, Lo, this is our God, we have waited for him, and he will save us. This is the Lord, we have waited for him. We will be glad and rejoice in his salvation. While the hand of the Creator rests in this mountain, Moab shall be trodden down under him, even as straw is trodden down for the dunghill. The pride of the terrible shall be brought low with the spoils of their hands, and the high fort of the wall shall be brought down. laid low and brought to the ground, even to the dust. The history concludes with a song that is sung in the land of Judah. We have a strong city, salvation will God appoint for walls and bulwarks. The gates are opened that the righteous nation, which keeps the truth, may enter in. The central truth of the movement is declared. Thou wilt keep him in perfect peace, whose mind is stayed on thee, because he trusteth in thee. Trust ye in the Lord forever, for in the Lord Jehovah is everlasting strength. The way of the just is uprightness, and the path of the just is weighed with equity. In the way of the judgments have the people waited, and the desire of their soul is to the name and the remembrance of the Creator. With the soul has he been desired in the night, and with the spirit will he be sought early. For when the judgments are in the earth, the inhabitants of the world will learn righteousness. Though favor be shown to the wicked, yet will he not learn righteousness. In the land of uprightness will he deal unjustly, and will not behold the majesty of the light. The people cry out that other lords beside the Creator have had dominion over them. But now by him only will they make mention of his name. The dead lords shall not live, they are deceased and shall not rise, for they have been visited and destroyed, and all their memory has been made to perish. The nation is increased, and the borders of the land are far removed. In trouble have they visited the light, and poured out a prayer when the chastening was upon them. Like a woman with child that draws near the time of her delivery, and cries out in her pangs, so have the people been. They have been with child and have been in pain, but they have as it were brought forth wind. They have not wrought any deliverance in the earth. But the promise is given, thy dead men shall live, together with my dead body shall they arise. Awake and sing, ye that dwell in dust, for thy dew is as the dew of herbs, and the earth shall cast out the dead. The movement ends with a call to the people to enter into their chambers and shut the doors about them. They are to hide themselves, as it were, for a little moment, until the indignation be overpast. For behold, the Creator comes out of his place to punish the inhabitants of the earth for their iniquity. The earth also shall disclose her blood, and shall no more cover her slain. In that day, the light with his sore and great and strong sword shall punish Leviathan the piercing serpent, even Leviathan that crooked serpent, and he shall slay the dragon that is in the sea. This is the lore of the quiet chamber in the midst of the cosmic storm, where the seekers wait for the morning as the ancient monsters are finally subdued by the strength of the great sword. The story turns once again to the image of a garden, but this time it is a song of restoration. In that day, the Creator speaks of a vineyard of red wine, declaring that he is its keeper and will water it every moment. To prevent any harm from coming to it, he keeps it night and day. The fury that once burned against the thorns and briars is gone. If the briars were to set themselves against him in battle, he would go through them and burn them together. Instead, the invitation is given for the strength of the light to be the people's sanctuary, so they may make peace with him. The vision shows a future where the roots of Jacob take hold, and the people blossom and bud, filling the face of the world with fruit. This is the lore of the healing harvest, where the strikes and wounds of the past are measured and debated in the east wind, proving that the purge was not for destruction, but to take away the sin and make the stones of the false altars like chalk stones that are beaten asunder. Yet before this fruitfulness can cover the earth, a woe is pronounced upon the crown of pride and the drunkards of the northern hills. The glorious beauty of the city of Samaria is described as a fatting flower at the head of a fat valley, belonging to those who are overcome with wine. The Creator has a mighty and strong agent, like a tempest of hail and a destroying storm, which shall cast down the crown to the earth with a powerful hand. The pride of the people shall be trodden under feet, and their fatting beauty shall be like a hasty fruit before the summer, which a person sees and eats up while it is yet in their hand. In that day, the Creator of hosts himself shall be for a crown of glory and a diadem of beauty unto the residue of his people. He will be a spirit of judgment to those who sit in judgment, and a source of strength to those who turn the battle at the gate. The vision looks with sorrow at the leaders in Jerusalem, who have also erred through wine and through strong drink are out of the way. The priest and the prophet have erred, they are swallowed up of wine, and are out of the way through strong drink. They err in vision and stumble in judgment. All their tables are full of filthiness and pollution, so that there is no place clean. They mock the teaching of the light, asking to whom he shall teach knowledge, and whom he shall make to understand doctrine. They speak of the teaching as if it were for infants, just weaned from the milk, complaining that it is precept upon precept, line upon line, here a little and there a little. Because they refuse to hear the word of rest and the refreshing, the word of the light shall indeed be unto them a series of simple rules that lead them to fall backward, to be broken, snared, and taken. The rulers of the city are addressed as scornful men who believe they have made a covenant with death and an agreement with the grave. They think that when the overflowing scourge passes through, it shall not come unto them, for they have made lies their refuge, and under falsehood have they hid themselves. But the response from the heights is a foundational promise. Behold, I lay in Zion for a foundation a stone, a tried stone, a precious cornerstone, a sure foundation. He that believeth shall not make haste. This is the lore of the cornerstone, the one true standard of measurement. Judgment will be laid to the line and righteousness to the plummet. The hail shall sweep away the refuge of lies, and the waters shall overflow the hiding place. The covenant with death shall be annulled, and the agreement with the grave shall not stand. When the overflowing scourge passes through, those who trusted in lies shall be trodden down by it. The bed is described as being too short for a man to stretch himself on, and the covering too narrow for him to wrap himself in. The work of the Creator will be strange, and his act will be an unusual one as he rises up to do his deed. The scorners are told not to be mockers, lest their bands be made strong, for consumption has been determined upon the whole earth. The people are invited to listen to the wisdom of the plowman. Does the plowman plow all day to sow? Does he not, when he has made plain the face of the ground, cast abroad the vetches and the cummin, and cast in the principal wheat and the appointed barley. For his God does instruct him to discretion, and does teach him. The fitches are not threshed with a thrashing instrument, nor is a cartwheel turned about upon the cummin, but the fitches are beaten out with a staff, and the cummin with a rod. Bread corn is bruised, but the plowman will not be always thrashing it. This is the lore of the wise farmer, showing that the trials of the people are measured and purposeful, coming from the one who is wonderful in counsel and excellent in working. A woe is then spoken against Ariel, the city where David dwelt. Though they add year to year and kill sacrifices in a cycle of ritual, the city will be brought into distress. There shall be heaviness and sorrow, and the city shall be unto the Creator as a hearth of fire. It shall be camped against round about, and laid siege to with a mount. The voice of the city shall be brought low, and speak out of the ground. It shall be as the voice of one that has a familiar spirit, a whisper out of the dust. But the multitude of the strangers that fight against Ariel shall be like small dust, and the multitude of the terrible ones shall be as chaff that passes away. It shall be at an instant, suddenly. The nations that fight against the city shall be as a dream of a night vision. It shall be as when a hungry man dreams that he eats, but he wakes, and his soul is empty, or as when a thirsty man dreams that he drinks, but he wakes and is faint. So shall the multitude of all the nations be that fight against Mount Zion. The people are described as being in a deep sleep, for the light has poured out upon them the spirit of deep slumber, and has closed their eyes. The prophets and the rulers are covered, and the vision of all has become as the words of a book that is sealed. When the book is delivered to one that is learned, asking him to read it, he says he cannot because it is sealed. When it is delivered to one that is unlearned, he says he is not learned, because the people draw near with their mouth and honor the Creator with their lips, while their heart is far from him. A marvelous work and a wonder will be performed. The wisdom of their wise men shall perish, and the understanding of their prudent men shall be hid. Woe unto them that seek deep to hide their counsel from the light, whose works are in the dark, and they say, who sees us, and who knows us? Their turning of things upside down shall be esteemed as the potter's clay. For shall the work say of him that made it, he made me not? Or shall the thing framed say of him that framed it, he had no understanding? The movement concludes with the promise of a coming change, where the forest of Lebanon shall be turned into a fruitful field, and the fruitful field shall be esteemed as a forest. In that day, the deaf shall hear the words of the book, and the eyes of the blind shall see out of obscurity and out of darkness. The meek shall increase their joy in the light, and the poor among men shall rejoice in the Holy One of Israel. For the terrible one is brought to nothing, and the scorner is consumed, and all that watch for iniquity are cut off. Those who made a man an offender for a word, and laid a snare for him that reproves in the gate, shall be made to perish. The house of Jacob shall no longer be ashamed, nor shall his face wax pale. When he sees his children, the work of the hands of the Creator, in the midst of him, They shall sanctify the name and fear the God of Israel. They also that erred in spirit shall come to understanding, and they that murmured shall learn doctrine. This is the transition from the sealed book to the open ear, where the confusion of the drunkards is replaced by the clarity of the redeemed. The history turns toward the southern deserts, where the leaders of the people have sent their messengers in a desperate search for security. This is the account of the rebellious children who take counsel, but not of the light, and who cover themselves with a covering, but not of the Spirit. They walk to go down into Egypt, putting their trust in the shadow of Pharaoh and the strength of his chariots, without asking the mouth of the Creator for guidance. The vision describes the burden of the beasts of the south, as young and old lions, vipers, and fiery flying serpents watch from the wilderness. The people carry their riches upon the shoulders of young asses, and their treasures upon the bunches of camels, to a nation that shall not profit them. The help of Egypt is declared to be in vain and to no purpose, for their strength is but to sit still. The visionary is commanded to write this in a table and note it in a book, that it may be for the time to come as a testimony against a lying people who will not hear the law. They are described as those who say to the seers, "See not," and to the prophets, "Prophesy not unto us right things, speak unto us smooth things, prophesy deceits." They wish to leave the ancient path and cause the Holy One of Israel to cease from before them, because they despise the word and trust in oppression and perverseness. This iniquity shall be to them as a breach ready to fall, swelling out in a high wall, whose breaking comes suddenly at an instant. It shall be broken as the breaking of a potter's vessel that is shivered in pieces, so that there shall not be found in the bursting of it a shard to take fire from the hearth, or to take water withal out of the pit. The core of the movement is a call to a different kind of strength. In returning and rest shall you be saved, in quietness and in confidence shall be your strength. But the people refused, saying they would flee upon horses and ride upon the swift. Therefore, those that pursue them shall be swift, and 1,000 shall flee at the rebuke of one, until they are left as a lonely beacon upon the top of a mountain, and as an ensign on a hill. Yet the Creator waits that he may be gracious, and he is exalted that he may have mercy, for he is a God of judgment. Blessed are all they that wait for him. The people shall dwell in Zion and weep no more. He will be very gracious at the voice of their cry, answering them as soon as he hears it. Though the bread of adversity and the water of affliction be given, the teachers shall not be removed into a corner any more, but the eyes shall see the teachers, and the ears shall hear a word behind them, saying, "This is the way, walk ye in it," whenever they turn to the right hand or to the left. The lore of the Restoration describes a time when the idols of silver and gold shall be cast away as a defiled thing. Then shall the rain be given for the seed, and the bread of the increase of the earth shall be fat and plenteous. In that day the cattle shall feed in large pastures, and the oxen and young asses that ear the ground shall eat clean provender, which has been winnowed with the shovel and the fan. Upon every high mountain and upon every high hill there shall be rivers and streams of waters in the day of the great slaughter, when the towers fall. The light of the moon shall be as the light of the sun, and the light of the sun shall be sevenfold as the light of 7 days, in the day that the Creator binds up the breach of his people and heals the stroke of their wound. This is the promise of the intensified morning, where the very celestial bodies reflect the healing that has come to the land. A vision of the coming of the Creator follows, as his name is seen coming from far, burning with his anger, and the burden thereof is heavy. His lips are full of indignation, and his tongue as a devouring fire. His breath, as an overflowing stream, shall reach to the midst of the neck, to sift the nations with the sieve of vanity. There shall be a bridle in the jaws of the people, causing them to err, but the people of the light shall have a song, as in the night when a holy solemnity is kept, and gladness of heart, as when one goes with a pipe to come into the mountain of the Creator. The glorious voice shall be heard, and the lighting down of his arm shall be shown, with the indignation of his anger, and with the flame of a devouring fire, with scattering and tempest and hailstones. Through the voice of the light shall the Assyrian be beaten down, which smote with a rod, in every place where the grounded staff shall pass, which the Creator shall lay upon him. It shall be with tabrets and harps, and in battles of shaking will he fight with it. For Tophet, a place of burning, is ordained of old, it is prepared for the king. He has made it deep and large, the pile thereof is fire, and much wood, the breath of the Creator, like a stream of brimstone, does kindle it. This is the lore of the final reckoning for the rod of the oppressor, showing that the fire prepared for the enemy is as certain as the song prepared for the redeemed. Woe is spoken again to them that go down to Egypt for help, and stay on horses and trust in chariots, because they are many. But they look not unto the Holy One of Israel. The Egyptians are men, and not God, and their horses flesh, and not spirit. When the Creator shall stretch out his hand, both he that helps shall fall, and he that is helped shall fall down, and they all shall fail together. The movement concludes with the image of the Creator as a lion, or a young lion roaring on his prey. When a multitude of shepherds is called forth against him, he will not be afraid of their voice, nor abase himself for the noise of them. So shall the Creator of hosts come down to fight for Mount Zion, and for the hill thereof. As birds flying, so will he defend Jerusalem. Defending also he will deliver it, and passing over he will preserve it. The children of Israel are called to turn unto him, from whom they have deeply revolted. In that day every man shall cast away his idols of silver and his idols of gold, which their own hands have made for a sin. Then shall the Assyrian fall with the sword, not of a mighty man, and the sword, not of a mean man, shall devour him. He shall flee from the sword, and his young men shall be discomfited. His rock shall pass away for fear, and his princes shall be afraid of the ensign. For the fire of the Creator is in Zion, and his furnace in Jerusalem. The history moves from the shadow of foreign chariots to the promise of a kingdom built on the bedrock of truth. This is the account of a king who shall reign in righteousness, and princes who shall rule in judgment. In that day, a man shall be as a hiding place from the wind and a covert from the tempest, as rivers of water in a dry place, and as the shadow of a great rock in a weary land. The eyes of them that see shall not be dim, and the ears of them that hear shall hearken. The heart also of the rash shall understand knowledge, and the tongue of the stammerers shall be ready to speak plainly. The vile person shall be no more called liberal, nor the churl said to be bountiful. For the vile person will speak villainy, and his heart will work iniquity, to practice hypocrisy, and to utter error against the light. But the liberal deviseth liberal things, and by liberal things shall he stand. A warning is issued to the women that are at ease, and the careless daughters who live in luxury, while the foundations of the nation are shaking. They are told to rise up and hear the voice of the visionary, for many days and years shall they be troubled. The vintage shall fail, and the gathering shall not come. They are commanded to tremble and be troubled, to strip themselves and make themselves bare, and gird sackcloth upon their loins. They shall lament for the teats, for the pleasant fields, and for the fruitful vine. Upon the land of the people shall come up thorns and briars, yea, upon all the houses of joy in the joyous city. The palaces shall be forsaken, and the multitude of the city shall be left. The forts and towers shall be for dens forever. A joy of wild asses and a pasture of flocks. This desolation is the lore of the hollow peace, where the external comfort of the city is stripped away to reveal the spiritual wilderness beneath. But this wilderness is not the end of the story. The desolation lasts only until the Spirit be poured upon the people from on high. When that breath of the Spirit arrives, the wilderness shall be a fruitful field, and the fruitful field shall be esteemed as a forest. Then judgment shall dwell in the wilderness, and righteousness remain in the fruitful field. And the work of righteousness shall be peace, and the effect of righteousness, quietness, and assurance forever. The people shall dwell in a peaceable habitation, and in sure dwellings, and in quiet resting places. Even when it shall hail, coming down on the forest, and the city shall be low in a low place, the blessing remains. Blessed are they that sow beside all waters, that send forth thither the feet of the ox and the ass. This is the lore of the transformed landscape, where the internal outpouring of the Spirit creates an external world of safety that no storm can overturn. The vision then cries out a woe to the spoiler who has not been spoiled, and to the treacherous dealer who has not been dealt with treacherously. When the spoiler shall cease to spoil, he shall be spoiled, and when he shall make an end to deal treacherously, others shall deal treacherously with him. The people cry out for grace, saying they have waited for the light to be their arm every morning, and their salvation also in the time of trouble. At the noise of the tumult, the people fled. At the lifting up of the Creator, the nations were scattered. The riches of the spoiler shall be gathered like the gathering of the caterpillar. As the running to and fro of locusts shall he leap upon them. The light is exalted, for he dwells on high. He has filled Zion with judgment and righteousness. Wisdom and knowledge shall be the stability of the times and strength of salvation. The fear of the Creator is his treasure. The ambassadors of peace weep bitterly, because the highways lie waste and the wayfaring man ceases. The enemy has broken the covenant and despised the cities, regarding no man. The earth mourns and languishes. Lebanon is ashamed and hewn down. Sharon is like a wilderness, and Bashan and Carmel shake off their fruits. But the voice from the heights declares, "Now will I rise, now will I be exalted, now will I lift up myself." The enemies shall conceive chaff and bring forth stubble. Their own breath, as fire, shall devour them. The people shall be as the burnings of lime. As thorns cut up shall they be burned in the fire. Those who are far off are told to hear what has been done, and those who are near are told to acknowledge the might of the vision. The sinners in Zion are afraid, and fearfulness has surprised the hypocrites. They ask, "Who among us shall dwell with the devouring fire? Who among us shall dwell with everlasting burnings?" The answer is given to those who walk righteously and speak uprightly, those who despise the gain of oppressions and shake their hands from holding of bribes, those who stop their ears from hearing of blood and shut their eyes from seeing evil. Such a person shall dwell on high. Their place of defense shall be the munitions of rocks. Bread shall be given them, and their waters shall be sure. Their eyes shall see the King in his beauty, and behold the land that is very far off. The heart shall meditate on the former terror, asking where the scribe is, and where the receiver is, and where is he that counted the towers. The fierce people shall no more be seen, nor the people of a deeper speech than can be perceived. Jerusalem is seen as a quiet habitation, a tabernacle that shall not be taken down. Not one of the stakes thereof shall ever be removed, neither shall any of the cords thereof be broken. In that place, the glorious Creator will be unto the people a place of broad rivers and streams, wherein shall go no galley with oars, neither shall gallant ship pass thereby. For the light is our judge, the light is our lawgiver, the light is our King, he will save us. The tacklings of the enemy are loosed, they could not well strengthen their mast, nor spread the sail. Then is the prey of a great spoil divided, the lame take the prey, and the inhabitant shall not say, "I am sick," for the people that dwell therein shall be forgiven their iniquity. The movement concludes with this image of the healed city, where the strength of the invader is dissolved like a ship in a storm, and the weakness of the inhabitant is turned into the health of the spirit. The munitions of rocks provide a safety that no siege engine can breach, and the broad rivers provide a refreshment that never runs dry. The history shifts from the quiet habitation of the city to a gathering of the whole world for a final reckoning. This is the account of the indignation of the nations, where the Creator calls to the earth and all that is therein to hear the word of the end. The vision describes a world where the armies of the proud are delivered to the slaughter, and the mountains are melted with their blood. The host of heaven shall be dissolved, and the heavens shall be rolled together as a scroll. All their host shall fall down, as the leaf falls off from the vine, and as a falling fig from the fig tree. This is the lore of the cosmic harvest, where the structures of human power once thought to be eternal, are stripped away like dry leaves in a winter wind. The sword of the vision is bathed in heaven and comes down upon the land of Edom, the people of the curse, for a great sacrifice. The land shall be soaked with blood, and the dust made fat with fatness. For it is the day of the vengeance, and the year of recompenses for the controversy of Zion. The streams thereof shall be turned into pitch, and the dust thereof into brimstone. The land shall become burning pitch, that shall not be quenched night nor day. From generation to generation it shall lie waste, and none shall pass through it forever. This is the story of the perpetual desolation, where the pride of the enemy is turned into a wilderness of thorns and nettles. The cormorant and the bittern shall possess it, the owl also, and the raven shall dwell in it. And he shall stretch out upon it the line of confusion and the stones of emptiness. The palaces of the proud shall be overgrown with brambles, and it shall be a habitation of dragons and a court for owls. The wild beasts of the desert shall meet with the wild beasts of the island, and the satyr shall cry to his fellow. The screech owl also shall rest there, and find for herself a place of rest. There shall the great owl make her nest, and lay, and hatch, and gather under her shadow. None of these shall want their mate, for the mouth of the Creator has commanded it. This is the lore of the wild occupation, where the space once filled with the noise of princes is now given over to the creatures of the night. The line of confusion is drawn over the ruins, proving that the order of man without the light is merely a prelude to the chaos of the dust. But as one land sinks into shadow, another begins to glow with a new life. The wilderness and the solitary place shall be glad for them, and the desert shall rejoice and blossom as the rose. It shall blossom abundantly and rejoice even with joy and singing. The glory of Lebanon shall be given unto it, the excellency of Carmel and Sharon. They shall see the glory of the Creator and the excellency of our God. This is the lore of the blooming waste, where the parched earth is healed by the touch of the Spirit. The hands that were weak are strengthened, and the knees that were feeble are confirmed. The fearful of heart are told to be strong and fear not, for the light comes with a recompense to save. In that day, the eyes of the blind shall be opened, and the ears of the deaf shall be unstopped. Then shall the lame man leap as a hart, and the tongue of the dumb sing. For in the wilderness shall waters break out, and streams in the desert. The parched ground shall become a pool, and the thirsty land springs of water. In the habitation of dragons, where each lay, shall be grass with reeds and rushes. This is the restoration of the senses and the soil, where the sore travail of the human condition is undone by a flood of grace. The desert is no longer a place of death, but a laboratory of life, showing that nothing is so dry that it cannot be refreshed by the wells of salvation. A highway shall be there, and a way, and it shall be called the way of holiness. The unclean shall not pass over it, but it shall be for those who walk in the path of the light. The wayfaring men, though fools, shall not err therein. No lion shall be there, nor any ravenous beast shall go up thereon. It shall not be found there, but the redeemed shall walk there. This is the lore of the safe passage, where the journey home is protected from every predator and every stumbling block. The road is straight, and the surface is sure, leading directly from the wasteland of the world to the gates of the holy city. The movement concludes with the return of the ransomed of the light. They shall come to Zion with songs and everlasting joy upon their heads. They shall obtain joy and gladness, and sorrow and sighing shall flee away. The history of the vision has moved from the smoke of the slaughter to the singing of the highway. The line of confusion that destroyed the city of pride is replaced by the way of holiness that guides the humble. The desert that once held the dragons now holds the lilies, and the people who once sat in the dust now stand upon the heights. The history descends from the high mountains of vision back to the heavy stone walls of Jerusalem, where the shadow of an empire has finally arrived. This is the account of the 14th year of King Hezekiah, when the great axe of the north, the king of Assyria, came up against all the defenced cities of Judah and took them. The sounds of distant falling towers are replaced by the immediate clatter of iron at the very gates of the city. The Assyrian king sends his messenger, the Rabshakeh, with a great army to stand by the conduit of the upper pool. There, in the hearing of the people on the wall, a voice of mockery rises, challenging the confidence of the king and the strength of his defense. The messenger asks upon whom the people trust that they dare to rebel, mocking their reliance on Egypt as a broken reed that pierces the hand of any who lean upon it. The mockery turns toward the spiritual foundation of the city. The Rabshakeh asks if the Creator himself has not commanded the Assyrian to destroy the land, claiming that no gods of any other nation, the gods of Hamath, Arpad, or Sepharvaim, have been able to deliver their people from the hand of the empire. He calls to the men sitting on the wall, warning them that if they do not surrender, they will be forced to eat and drink their own waste in the coming famine of the siege. The leaders of the city plead with the messenger to speak in the Syrian language, so the common people cannot understand the terror of his words. But the Rabshakeh only shouts louder in the Jews' native tongue. He promises them a land of corn and wine, of bread and vineyards, if they will only come out to him, but warns that if they trust in their king's promise of deliverance, they will surely perish. The people, however, hold their peace and answer him not a word, for the king's commandment was to remain silent in the face of the taunt. When the report of these words reaches King Hezekiah, the history describes a moment of deep mourning. The king tears his clothes, covers himself with sackcloth, and goes into the house of the Creator. He sends his ministers to the visionary, the son of Amoz, declaring that this day is a day of trouble, of rebuke, and of blasphemy, for the children are come to the birth, and there is no strength to bring forth. He asks that a prayer be lifted up for the remnant that is left, for the king of Assyria has sent his servant to reproach the living light. The response from the visionary is a word of quiet steel. The king is told not to be afraid of the words of the servants of the Assyrian, For a rumor will be sent into the enemy's heart, and he shall return to his own land to fall by the sword. This is the lore of the internal terror, where the one who sought to frighten the city is himself unsettled by a whisper of the Spirit. The king of Assyria sends a final letter to Hezekiah, repeating his boasts and warning that Jerusalem is no more special than the other cities that have been utterly destroyed. Hezekiah takes the letter into the temple and spreads it out before the Creator. This is the story of the spread letter, a prayer of complete vulnerability. The king acknowledges that the Assyrian has indeed laid waste to many nations and cast their gods into the fire, but he notes that those were not gods, but the work of men's hands, wood and stone. He pleads for deliverance, so that all the kingdoms of the earth may know that there is but one true light. The prayer is no longer a political negotiation or a military strategy. It is a direct appeal from the dust of the earth to the majesty of the heavens. The reply comes back through the visionary, a song of defiance against the pride of the empire. The virgin daughter of Zion is seen despising and laughing the Assyrian to scorn, shaking her head at him as he retreats. The Creator asks the Assyrian, "Whom hast thou reproached and blasphemed? And against whom hast thou exalted thy voice and lifted up thine eyes on high? Even against the Holy One of Israel, the pride of the king, who boasted of cutting down the tall cedars and entering into the forest of Carmel, is revealed to be nothing but the arrogance of a tool that forgot the hand using it." The Creator declares that he knows the enemy's abode, his going out, his coming in, and his rage. Because of this rage and tumult, a hook will be put in the enemy's nose and a bridle in his lips, and he will be turned back by the way he came. A sign is given to the people of the city. For 2 years they shall eat that which grows of itself, but in the 3rd year they shall sow and reap and plant vineyards. The remnant that is escaped of the house of Judah shall again take root downward and bear fruit upward. This is the lore of the resilient root, proving that the fire of the siege cannot touch the hidden life of the nation. The decree is spoken that the king of Assyria shall not come into this city, nor shoot an arrow there, nor come before it with shields, nor cast a bank against it. By the way that he came, by the same shall he return, for the city is defended for the sake of the light, and for the sake of the servant David. The strength of the empire, which seemed like a mountain, is revealed to be as thin as a mist when the word of the truth is spoken against it. The movement reaches its peak in the silence of the night. The vision describes the angel of the light going forth into the camp of the Assyrians and smiting 185,000 men. When the morning arrives, the camp is filled with dead bodies. Sennacherib, the king of Assyria, departs and returns to his own city of Nineveh. While he is worshiping in the house of his God, his own sons smite him with the sword, and he falls in the very place where he thought he was most secure. This is the lore of the shattered silence, where the army that boasted of its noise is stilled in a single night, and the king who mocked the Creator is betrayed by his own flesh. The siege is lifted not by the swords of the city, but by the breath of the Spirit that blows through the dark. The history concludes with a final trial for the king. Hezekiah becomes sick unto death, and the visionary tells him to set his house in order. But the king turns his face to the wall and prays with great weeping, remembering how he has walked in truth and with a perfect heart. Before the visionary has even left the court, he is told to return with a new word. 15 years shall be added to the king's life, and the city shall be delivered out of the hand of the Assyrian. A sign is given on the sundial of Ahaz, where the shadow is brought backward 10 degrees. This is the lore of the reversed shadow, showing that the one who holds the stars in his hand can also hold back the time of a man's end. The movement ends with the king's song of recovery, as he realizes that for peace he had great bitterness, but the light has in love to his soul delivered it from the pit of corruption. The history shifts from the iron walls of the siege to a voice that carries across the vast, silent stretches of the desert. This is the account of the great comfort, where the warfare of the city is accomplished and her iniquity is pardoned. The visionary hears a cry that does not come from a throne or a temple, but from the emptiness of the wilderness. Prepare ye the way of the light, make straight in the desert a highway for our God. This is the lore of the leveled landscape, where every valley shall be exalted, and every mountain and hill shall be made low, the crooked shall be made straight, and the rough places plain. The glory of the Creator shall be revealed, and all flesh shall see it together, for the mouth of the light has spoken it. The voice cries again, asking what it shall cry, and the answer is a sobering reminder of the human condition. All flesh is grass, and all the goodliness thereof is as the flower of the field. The grass withers, and the flower fades, because the Spirit blows upon it. But the word of our God shall stand forever. The vision calls for a messenger to get up into the high mountain and lift up a voice with strength, saying unto the cities of Judah, Behold your God. This is the story of the gentle shepherd, who shall feed his flock and gather the lambs with his arm, carrying them in his bosom, and gently leading those that are with young. The scale of this presence is measured against the physical world in a series of piercing questions. Who has measured the waters in the hollow of his hand, and meted out heaven with the span, and comprehended the dust of the earth in a measure, and weighed the mountains in scales and the hills in a balance? The nations are seen as a drop of a bucket, and are counted as the small dust of the balance. He takes up the isles as a very little thing. Lebanon is not sufficient to burn, nor the beasts thereof sufficient for a burnt offering. All nations before him are as nothing. They are counted to him less than nothing and vanity. The lore mocks the attempt of man to liken the Creator to an image or a carved idol. The workman melts a graven image, and the goldsmith spreads it over with gold and casts silver chains. He that is so impoverished that he has no oblation chooses a tree that will not rot. He seeks unto him a cunning workman to prepare a graven image that shall not be moved. The vision asks, Have ye not known? Have ye not heard? Has it not been told you from the beginning? It is he that sits upon the circle of the earth, and the inhabitants thereof are as grasshoppers, that stretches out the heavens as a curtain, and spreads them out as a tent to dwell in. He brings the princes to nothing, and makes the judges of the earth as vanity. Scarcely shall they be planted or sown, and scarcely shall their stock take root in the earth, when he shall blow upon them, and they shall wither, and the whirlwind shall take them away as stubble. The stars are called forth by name, and by the greatness of his might not one fails. The people are rebuked for saying that their way is hid, and their judgment is passed over. The everlasting Creator, the light, the maker of the ends of the earth, faints not, neither is weary. There is no searching of his understanding. He gives power to the faint, and to them that have no might he increases strength. Even the youth shall faint and be weary, and the young men shall utterly fall. But they that wait upon the light shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings as eagles. They shall run and not be weary, and they shall walk and not faint. This is the lore of the borrowed strength, where the exhaustion of the creature is met by the inexhaustible energy of the spirit. The movement turns to a silent court, where the islands are told to keep silence, and the people to renew their strength. A question is asked: who raised up the righteous man from the east, called him to his foot, gave the nations before him, and made him rule over kings? The answer is the one who has performed and done it, calling the generations from the beginning. The isles saw it and feared. The ends of the earth were afraid and drew near. The carpenter encouraged the goldsmith, and he that smooths with the hammer encouraged him that smote the anvil, saying of the soldering, "It is good," as they fastened the idol with nails that it should not be moved. But the focus shifts to the servant, the seed of Abraham the friend. They are told not to fear, for the light is with them. I will strengthen thee, yea, I will help thee, yea, I will uphold thee with the right hand of my righteousness. All they that were incensed against the servant shall be ashamed and confounded. They shall be as nothing. The lore of the worm Jacob describes a people who feel small and trodden upon, yet they are told, "Fear not, thou worm Jacob, and ye men of Israel, I will help thee." They are made into a new sharp thrashing instrument having teeth. They shall thresh the mountains and beat them small, and shall make the hills as chaff. The wind shall carry them away. When the poor and needy seek water and there is none, and their tongue fails for thirst, the Creator will hear them. Rivers will be opened in high places and fountains in the midst of the valleys. The wilderness will be made a pool of water, and the dry land springs of water. The cedar, the shittim tree, the myrtle, and the oil tree will be planted in the wilderness, so that the people may see and know, and consider that the hand of the light has done this. A challenge is issued to the idols of the nations. Produce your cause, bring forth your strong reasons. Let them show us what shall happen. Let them show the former things, what they be, that we may consider them. The idols are challenged to do good or do evil, that the people may be dismayed and behold it together. But they are of nothing, and their work of naught. An abomination is he that chooses them. One has been raised up from the north, and from the rising of the sun shall he call upon the name. He shall come upon princes as upon mortar, and as the potter treads clay. No one among the idols could declare this from the beginning. There was no counselor among them that, when asked, could answer a word. Behold, they are all vanity, their works are nothing. Their molten images are wind and confusion. The movement concludes with the introduction of the chosen servant in whom the soul of the Creator delights. I have put my spirit upon him. He shall bring forth judgment to the Gentiles. This is the lore of the quiet power. He shall not cry, nor lift up, nor cause his voice to be heard in the street. A bruised reed shall he not break, and the smoking flax shall he not quench. He shall bring forth judgment unto truth. He shall not fail nor be discouraged till he has set judgment in the earth, and the isles shall wait for his law. He is given for a covenant of the people, and for a light of the Gentiles, to open the blind eyes, to bring out the prisoners from the prison, and them that sit in darkness out of the prison house. The new things are declared before they spring forth, and a new song is called for from the ends of the earth, as the wilderness and the cities thereof lift up their voice in the light of the dawning glory. The history shifts from the promise of the quiet servant to the actual path of a people who have walked long in the shadows. This is the account of the blind brought by a way they knew not, led in paths they had not known. The Creator promises to make darkness light before them and crooked things straight. These things will be done, and they will not be forsaken. A sharp rebuke is issued to those who trust in graven images and say to the molten images, "Ye are our gods." The deaf are called to hear and the blind to look, that they may see. The irony is laid bare. Who is as blind as the servant, or as deaf as the messenger that was sent? The people have seen many things but observed not. They have opened their ears but heard nothing. This is a people robbed and spoiled, snared in holes and hid in prison houses, with none to deliver or say, "Restore." The Lord asks, who among the people will give ear to this and hearken for the time to come? It was the light who gave Jacob for a spoil and Israel to the robbers, because they would not walk in his ways. He poured upon them the fury of his anger and the strength of battle, setting them on fire round about. Yet they knew it not, it burned them, yet they laid it not to heart. But now the tone changes to one of fierce protection. Fear not, for I have redeemed thee. I have called thee by thy name, thou art mine. This is the lore of the unquenchable presence. When the people pass through the waters, the light will be with them, and through the rivers, they shall not overflow them. When they walk through the fire, they shall not be burned, neither shall the flame kindle upon them. The ransom for this people is the wealth of nations. Egypt, Ethiopia, and Seba are given as a trade for their life, because they are precious and honorable. The winds of the four corners are commanded to give up the sons and daughters of the vision. Bring my sons from far, and my daughters from the ends of the earth. Everyone that is called by the name is brought forth, even the blind people that have eyes, and the deaf that have ears. All nations are gathered together to see if any of their idols can declare the former things or show the future. The people are the witnesses that there is no God formed before the Creator, neither shall there be any after. Even I, am the light, and beside me there is no Savior. The vision declares that before the day was, he is, and there is none that can deliver out of his hand. The power of Babylon is broken for their sake, and the bars of the city are brought down, turning the cry of the Chaldeans into a lament. A new thing is being done in the earth, and the people are asked if they perceive it. A way is being made in the wilderness and rivers in the desert. The beasts of the field, the dragons, and the owls shall honor the Creator, because water is given in the wilderness to give drink to the chosen people. This people has been formed for the purpose of showing forth praise. Yet, the history records a weariness. But thou hast not called upon me, O Jacob, but thou hast been weary of me, O Israel. The people did not bring the small cattle of their burnt offerings, nor honored the light with their sacrifices. Instead, they made the Creator to serve with their sins and wearied him with their iniquities. But the lore of the blotting out of transgressions declares, I, even I, am he that blotteth out thy transgressions for mine own sake, and will not remember thy sins. The people are invited to put the Creator in remembrance and plead their cause together. The blessing is poured out like water upon him that is thirsty, and floods upon the dry ground. The Spirit is poured upon the seed, and the blessing upon the offspring. They shall spring up as among the grass, as willows by the watercourses. One shall say, I am the lights, and another shall call himself by the name of Jacob. The King of Israel and his Redeemer, the Creator of hosts, declares that he is the first and the last. Fear ye not, neither be afraid. Have not I told thee from that time, and have declared it? Ye are even my witnesses. The folly of the idol maker is once again mocked with the story of the forest. A man hews him down cedars and takes the cypress and the oak. He burns part of it in the fire to warm himself and bake bread, saying, Aha, I am warm, I have seen the fire. And with the residue thereof, he makes a god, even his graven image. He falls down unto it and prays, Deliver me, for thou art my God. This is the lore of the deceived heart, where a man feeds on ashes and cannot deliver his soul or say, Is there not a lie in my right hand? The people are told to remember these things and not forget their Maker. The clouds of their transgressions have been dispelled like a thick cloud in the morning. Return unto me, for I have redeemed thee. The heavens are called to sing, and the lower parts of the earth to shout. The mountains and every tree therein are to break forth into singing. The Creator, who frustrated the tokens of the liars and made the diviners mad, is the one who says of Jerusalem, She shall be inhabited, and of the cities of Judah, ye shall be built. He is the one who says to the deep, Be dry, and says of Cyrus, the foreign king, He is my shepherd, and shall perform all my pleasure. The account introduces Cyrus, whose right hand has been held to subdue nations before him. The two-leaved gates are opened, and the hidden treasures of darkness are given to him, so that he may know that the God of Israel has called him by name. This is done for the sake of the servant Jacob, though Cyrus has not known the light. I am the light, and there is none else. There is no God beside me. I girded thee, though thou hast not known me. heavens are commanded to drop down from above, and the skies to pour down righteousness. The Lord warns those who strive with their Maker, asking if the clay shall say to him that fashions it, "What makest thou?" Or the work say, "He hath no hands." The Creator who made the earth and created man upon it, who stretched out the heavens, is the one who has raised up the deliverer in righteousness to let go the captives, not for price nor reward. The movement concludes with the submission of the nations. The labor of Egypt and the merchandise of Ethiopia shall come over and be theirs. They shall fall down and make supplication, saying, "Surely God is in thee, and there is none else. Verily, thou art a God that hidest thyself, O God of Israel, the Savior." The makers of idols shall go to confusion together, but Israel shall be saved with an everlasting salvation. The Creator did not say to the seed of Jacob, "Seek ye me in vain." He speaks righteousness and declares things that are right. The ends of the earth are invited to look and be saved. Every knee shall bow, and every tongue shall swear. For in the light shall all the seed of Israel be justified, and shall glory. The hidden God is revealed as the only source of strength, and the deceived heart is finally offered the truth that stands firmer than the mountains of the forest. The history turns its gaze back toward the great golden city of the east, where the heavy stone idols of Bel and Nebo are being moved. This is the account of the fallen gods, who are bowed down and stooped until they are no more than a burden upon the weary beasts that carry them. The animals groan under the weight of the metal and the wood, but the idols cannot deliver the burden. They are themselves gone into captivity. This is the lore of the carried gods, where the people must lift up and transport the objects they once worshipped. The Creator contrasts this with his own care, reminding the people that he has carried them from the womb, and even to old age and gray hairs, he will bear them. I have made, and I will bear, even I will carry, and will deliver you. The idols of gold and silver, for which the people lavish their wealth and hire a goldsmith to fashion, are set in their place and stand still. They cannot move, nor can they answer a cry of distress. Vision calls for the transgressors to bring this to mind and show themselves men. They are told to remember the former things of old, for there is none else like the light, declaring the end from the beginning, and from ancient times the things that are not yet done. A ravenous bird from the east is called, a man that executes the counsel from a far country. The stout-hearted who are far from righteousness are told to hearken, for the salvation of the city is not far off. It is placed in Zion, for Israel the glory. Then the vision speaks directly to the virgin daughter of Babylon, commanding her to come down and sit in the dust. There is no throne for the daughter of the Chaldeans. She shall no more be called tender and delicate. She is told to take the millstones and grind meal, to uncover her locks and make bare the leg, for her shame shall be seen, and her reproach shall be felt. This is the lore of the silent darkness. Babylon is told to sit in silence and get into darkness, for she shall no more be called the Lady of Kingdoms. The Creator was wroth with his people and polluted his inheritance, giving them into the hand of the empire, but Babylon showed them no mercy. Upon the ancient has she very heavily laid her yoke. She said in her heart, I shall be a lady forever, and did not lay the consequences to her heart, neither did she remember the latter end of it. She is described as a city given to pleasures, dwelling carelessly, saying in her heart, I am, and none else beside me. I shall not sit as a widow, neither shall I know the loss of children. But these two things shall come to her in a moment, in one day, the loss of children and widowhood. They shall come upon her in their perfection, for the multitude of her sorceries, and for the great abundance of her enchantments. The city trusted in her wickedness, saying, None sees me. Her wisdom and her knowledge have perverted her, leading her to believe she was unique in the world. Therefore, a mischief shall fall upon her, which she shall not be able to put off, and desolation shall come upon her suddenly, which she shall not know. She is mocked and told to stand now with her enchantments and the multitude of her sorceries, wherein she has labored from her youth. The astrologers, the stargazers, and the monthly prognosticators are challenged to stand up and save her from the things that shall come upon her. Behold, they shall be as stubble, the fire shall burn them. They shall not deliver themselves from the power of the flame. There shall not even be a coal to warm at, nor fire to sit before. All they with whom she has labored, and her merchants shall wander, every one to his quarter. None shall save her. The history then addresses the house of Jacob, who are called by the name, and are come forth out of the waters of Judah. They swear by the name of the light, but not in truth nor in righteousness. They call themselves of the holy city and stay themselves upon the God of Israel. The Creator declares that He has shown them the former things from the beginning, suddenly performing them, so they could not say their idol had done them. They are a people whose neck is an iron sinew, and whose brow is brass. New things are now declared, hidden things that were not heard before, so they cannot say, Behold, I knew them. The visionary knows that the people are treacherous, and were called transgressors from the womb. For the sake of the name, the anger is deferred, and for the sake of the praise, the people are refrained, that they be not cut off. They have been refined, but not with silver. They have been chosen in the furnace of affliction. The Creator will not give His glory unto another. He calls upon Jacob and Israel to hearken, for He is the first and also the last. His hand has laid the foundation of the earth, and His right hand has spanned the heavens. When He calls unto them, they stand up together. All the people are,